It is time for a brand new episode of the podcast of Steel, and my guest today, a geek, a nerd, a gentleman, a lover of musicals, a lover of so much, but your passion, Henry, and your positivity and charisma is something that is addictive, and I'm so happy that you are here today on the podcast of Steel. Henry Calvert, welcome, sir.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. That's so kind of you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to this all week.
We've bumped into each other in various screening areas, and
yes,
we'll get to some of those later on, even very randomly, all the way on the other side of the world in America. We will get to that momentarily, but if you could please share, as it were, your origin story with the watchers and the listeners, Henry.
Okay, so my origin story, I guess, with the online malarkey, the TikTok world, I guess, I started back in 2021, lockdown, third lockdown. I feel like a lot of people started way back then. I didn't really have much going on at the time. I was reading a lot of comic books, and I thought, screw it, I need an outlet for this. And yeah, I started uploading comic book recommendations on TikTok, and I did that for about a year. But then, like, towards the end of that year, I started to kind of realize that people were following more so for me as opposed to the comic books, I guess. So I did more like personality-based content. And then in March 22 is when I went kind of viral with my getting ready for a night out and dancing to Phil Collins video, which people still call me the Phil Collins guy when I go out. It's very... I love it.
Great, get that on a t-shirt.
Yeah, exactly. There's worse things to be called than the Phil Collins guy. So yeah, I did Phil Collins, and then I went and did Beauty and the Geek, which was a reality dating show that I did. Shot that in April 22. And then kind of that summer was when I lived the social media influencer life, like doing all the screenings, all the PR nonsense that we do. It was just, yeah, and then it just grew from there, and here we are 2 years later, still 3 years later, God.
3 years later.
I know, wild. 3 years later, and we're still doing it. Just got, making the most out of it.
Well, and that's it, and that's the thing. You have not changed, though, which is what I absolutely adore about that, is that you're still just passionate and you're positive, and you talk about what you love without care. There are so many people out there that are easy to jump on somebody and ridicule them and mock them for the things that they adore. And that I cannot stand. And you are a great ambassador for just showing off to the world what you love and what you care about, whether it be comics or games or props or anything. There are so many passions out there that one can have. And I'm sure we will talk about some of those today. But growing up for you, what were some of your big passions when you were growing up, Henry? Back when you were a wee young lad.
Growing up, I always say one of my earliest memories is being sat on my dad's knee, pretending I was in an X-Wing watching A New Hope on VHS. Like, I remember, like, always rewinding to the trench run of A New Hope as a kid. Like, that lived in our TV. Star Wars was a big thing for me growing up. Like, my first interaction with kind of the Comic-Con scene and kind of big fandoms in that way was that we had a family friend who ran kind of a Lego resale business. Like, we'd go to Comic-Cons and have a stall and sell Lego growing up. So I spent all of my weekends traveling up and down the country to various like local cons and Lego shows, selling Lego with my friend. And that really opened my eyes to the wider world of fandoms, and that it wasn't just something that I and like two of my friends at school spoke about in the corner and like quizzed each other on who knew the most Star Wars planets or who'd read the most comic books that week. It was like there is a wider range of people out there, and I think it was important for me to interact with that at a young age and kind of help to internalize that this is a good thing. Like, this is good to like all of this. There's other people out there who love it as well. So Lego and Star Wars for me growing up was like the cornerstones of my geeky personality, I'd say.
Not a bad stepping stone into this community. An expensive one, but it's not a bad stepping stone to get into. But that's the thing. I think over the years, the term geek and nerd has had some negative connotations, but it is people and pages like yours that are putting that aside. It's about as we said, facing your passions and embracing
Absolutely.
it, because you never know what will happen. I would love to know sort of what you would go back and say to 10-year-old Henry and say, look, keep doing this because you never know what might happen in the future, because you've had some fantastic opportunities over the years to not only embrace the things that you love, but also share them with the world. What have been some of your favorite moments, Henry?
I think it's always a hard one. Like, one of my first big PR things was I went to Star Wars Celebration in LA in 2022, and they let me bring my Star Wars friend from school. Like, we got a +1. I brought my best friend, also called Henry, and that was like that was a big full circle thing for me. Like, that was really special. I then got to take my uncle to Disney World on a PR thing. I got to bring my grandma to the Avatar premiere. It's like the things. It's hard to. It's giving the opportunities to like the people that nurtured my passions growing up, like being able to share it with them and see like my grandma on a red carpet for a film that she adores, and I've gotten her there, but she helped nurture me growing up. Like, it's those moments that really, really, really mean the world. But I mean, I guess if we're talking like selfishly, I guess like the Wicked stuff that I did was really cool.
That interview, I will share a link to the interview on here. The chemistry between you and Jeff Goldblum and Jonathan Bailey was just electric. For that moment you walked in the room. Now, I'm sure you were nervous, very nervous in that moment.
Yeah.
But
I'm absolutely packing my pants.
You didn't see it. It was perfect. What was that like for you? Run that back for me.
It's just the I'd done a few interviews before then, and I was fortunate. The first interview I ever did was with Rachel Zegler and Lucy Liu, and they were so lovely, and that kind of set the tone that, oh, these interviews can actually be quite nice. And I'd seen some of like Jeff and Jonathan's stuff from like earlier on in the press tour, and I had a feeling that they'd be good. But going in, it was like you just have to get dialed in. I kind of had to put everything else aside, forget that there's like 10 other people in the room, and just. But my style is I always do like a bit of an intro the talent. Which I think gives them something to immediately react to. You immediately kind of like get a vibe of how they're doing based off of how they react to their intro. And it just creates a bit of instant rapport. But no, the Jeff and Jonathan thing, I would say, is probably the highlight of my like interviewing career so far, probably.
It was one of those things where, you only get a few minutes, and these stars have been doing this press tour for many, many weeks. Yeah. And some people probably would phone it in, these interviewers, but the power that you brought in, that energy that they just, again, mimicked and mirrored, it was beautiful. You were dancing, you were riffing with them. It was a
we were singing with them. We were giving it a bit of. By the end of it, I went into like a bit of a Jeff Goldblum. I was asking my questions like, Jeff, what do you think about this? Yes. It was.
It's hard not to mimic. He's so expressive with everything that he has to give. But it was a brilliant interview. But what I got out of it was the fact that they were having fun. That's what you brought to it. And that was absolutely brilliant, because not only are you a fan of so many wonderful geeky, nerdy things we will get to, you are a musical theatre kid at heart, Henry, aren't you?
I am. Oh, indeed. Before all of this social media took off, I was going to drama school and like musicals and theatre. I've got the nerdy stuff. Half of me isn't geeky. The other half is like theatre kid.
What a split. What a yin yang that is. It's the best. Henry. It's the best.
I love it. Like I really, really miss it, and I've managed to tap into it a bit recently. Like, I've done 2 or 3 live shows now, which have been just brilliant. But I used to teach musical theatre before all of this took off, and I really, really miss that. So I'm sure I'll get back to that at some point.
I'm sure there's a scratch there that needs to be itched, and you're doing such a fantastic job of creating this persona that is clearly, it's not somebody else. This is you. There's no Superman Clark Kent going on here. It's just it's all Henry. So I look forward to maybe, who knows, seeing you on the stage again, whether it be musicals or entertainment or a
We'll see.
cabaret situation.
Indeed.
You've got it in you. So where did this love for theatre begin, Henry?
Oh, way back when at school. I mean, I was never like the sporty guy, and I wasn't like highly academic, but I kind of did some singing lessons. I was quite good at it, and no other boys really were. So I think I've always kind of been very self-assured. Like, if I am the only boy doing it, I don't really like mind. Like, I'm gonna do it. Screw it. No one else really likes Star Wars. That's fine. I'm gonna be that person. But yeah, it was like my thing. Like, I did the school band. I was Toad when we did Win the Willows. We did Sound of Music at school. And it was just something. It was a self-expression, I guess. It's why anybody falls in love with theatre. It's for kind of that release, that ability to kind of like embody a different character for a while, be somebody else for a while. We always kind of like, us a lot dream of being superheroes or whatever. And it's cool to put yourself in maybe their shoes, or put yourself in the shoes of a Toad or a Badger or whatever. Like, it's fun, and it was a way to make friends. Yeah, I got a bit of grief for it kind of growing up, but it wasn't. My passion for theatre outweighed any grief that I could have gotten.
Love that. Because, yeah, sometimes these awful people out there want to push people down and stop them from doing the things that they love. But clearly the power of theatre was stronger than you expected, Henry, because, you know, here we are. You're still promoting musicals and films and comics and so many things that bring people joy. What was the first big production you saw on stage, Henry?
Oh, it was Wicked. My cousin took me to see Wicked for like my 12th or 13th birthday, I think. And I've seen it like 8 times since.
Wow.
I've seen it 8 times since. And that's why all of the Wicked stuff, all the work that I got to do on Wicked meant so much to me, because it was, again, one of those big full circle things. Like, it was the first show I ever saw on stage. It's my first headline article for a film magazine that I wrote. It's like all of my interviews. Wicked's just a very special show. Like, I remember watching the film with my grandma, and then Addie, my cousin, took me to see the show, and then, I don't know, Wicked's just very, very special to me.
I do love that.
Great
show. I've not seen the show. I thoroughly enjoyed the movie, and I have done several times since, but it has now come onto my theatre list of shows that I need to see.
Oh, you've got to. Because I'm such a big fan of it, I saw the film and I was like its biggest critic. It's how I imagine you'll be with like any Superman project that comes out. Like, when we are that passionate about a project, like, it needs to be good. So I came out of the movie and like everyone's like, it's the best thing ever. I love it. It's great. And I'm like, I liked it. Go watch the stage show. Go and watch the stage show.
Pretty much, yeah. My girlfriend, she's a huge theatre fan. Yeah. And I took her to see Wicked, and I spent most of the time watching the screen and then some of it watching her to see how she would react to it. And after seeing her reaction, but also seeing that film, I wanted to see more of it. And now, it's not a case of her dragging me along now to theatre. It's the fact, look, this is on now. Can we go and see this? I want to go and see this one. What do you think of this? So the diary is filling up this year of not only geeky movies, but also a Broadway and trips to London. So
I love it, man. That's great.
We're booked in for Hercules. That's going to be happening later on this year.
I'm looking
forward to that. Off to see my nieces soon in Footloose. They've always helped me out with my theatre love as well. But yeah, I think it's, again, not only finding the passion, say, for theatre, but finding people in your life that bring this passion out of you. And it's not, as you say, just about superheroes or Superman. It's finding those other things and finding ways to connect the dots to have all these things that we love and that we can spend our hard-earned money on. Because that is the thing, because the theatre ain't cheap.
No, it's not.
So in the future, what shows are you looking forward to seeing or hopefully coming back for?
Recently, like 3 days ago, saw Hades Town with the original Broadway cast, and that was like at the top of my list. So I saw that. That was great. Coming up, I'm very excited for Hercules. That's my favorite. Well, I say very excited. I'm more so intrigued. Like Disney. Hercules is one of my favorite Disney movies. Like, I love that film. And it's just like, please don't cock this up. Like, please don't. But that. I'd love to see another tour. It comes back every few years of Hairspray. I adore Hairspray. I'd love to see that again on stage. Dreamgirls. It's been ages since I've seen a good Dreamgirls production. I'd like to see Seven Brides for Seven Brothers on stage.
Okay.
Because I love that movie. And I know they've done stage versions before, but I've never seen one. And I don't know if they've ever like done one in the UK whilst I've like been alive. Like, I don't know. But I'd love to see Seven Brides on stage because that's got some great dance numbers. And Singing in the Rain as well. I think any of those old school movie musicals, I've never really seen any of them translated to stage, but they're like so ingrained in my mind as movies that I'd love to see them on stage. So yeah, there's a few. I'm going to put those out into the universe, see if any
Let's
producers...
see. Now, would you prefer to watch it or to be a part of the production?
I'd be in it. And like Singing in the Rain, Cosmo Brown, I think his last name is, Donald O'Connor's character in Singing in the Rain, getting to do Make 'em Laugh would be a dream. It would be an absolute dream.
That's fine. If you can do the backflips and the somersaults.
Well, that's the only thing.
I'll be there day one, front row. Yeah?
That's the only thing. Like, I haven't had tap lessons since I was like 15.
It'll all come flooding back. Don't worry about that.
I bet. Or, you know, like, I could be young Hercules because he's a skinny... I liked Hercules growing up because he was like a skinny-ass kid. Like, he was a small kid and he grew up to be massive. I'm like, I could be that skinny kid, even though I'm now probably too old. But I did. Oh, well, we'll see.
We'll make it work. We'll make it work in production. That's fine.
It'll be fine.
There's all makeup magic they can do, Henry. That's fine. Now, talking from the stage, we're going to go from the stage to the screen.
Great.
Tell me a bit about Beauty and the Geek.
Okay. All right, I'll give you the pitch, right?
Yes.
Beauty and the Geek is a reality dating show that sees two groups of people from opposite ends of the social spectrum come together, see if they can overcome their differences, and maybe find a spark of romance.
Now, you've said that before. I'll give you that. That was perfect.
That's the line.
It was perfect. Absolutely perfect, Henry.
I've done a few things where they're like, tell me about Beauty and the Geek, and I was like, I should probably get this nailed down.
And you have. It was perfect.
Yeah.
Yes, for those that don't know, you were part of a rather interesting reality TV show quite a few years ago, and there are still clips online if you want to go and see Henry. And again,
it's brilliant. You look up Calvert, Beauty and the Geek, and I think the first thing that comes up is nerd raps to girl on first date, and I'm like, yeah, okay, that's my legacy.
You know, as clickbait goes, that's pretty spot on, Henry.
It's pretty great. It's pretty great.
You can click on that. So
it's my face looking like.
But clearly, you had some fun with that show.
I did. At the time, it was it came at a weird time because I got approached to do it off of the back of like all my comic book recommendation stuff, and even back then when I was on like, I don't know, I was on like 7,000 followers or something. I'd been preaching the good word of geek, like love everything you do, love all this kind of thing. And then I got asked to do it, and I was really nervous to do it because I didn't know if it would be kind of like hypocritical. Am I going against my word, going on a show that could potentially ridicule us for being geeks? Anyway, I watched the Australian season that aired the year before, and it was actually really nice. Like, it was a really lovely show. It was very uplifting, and if anything, was very supportive of geekiness and all that. So, and it filmed over half term, so I wasn't teaching. I was like, screw it, go. It was great. Filming, I enjoyed for the most part. There were a few days where I struggled, and I'm a very, how do I say this? I'm a northerner, and I'm like a forthright northerner. So I'll like, and it can kind of be like, it can kind of be like a,
come on.
It can be like a love or hate me type thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're done. Like, you have been recording us for 10 hours now. We need to eat and sleep. And all the other guys would be like, oh, sorry, oh no. And I'd be like, nah, I'm not having this. Like, we need a break. What the hell are we doing? But I made some great friends on there, and I did meet my ex-girlfriend on there. So it worked for about a year. But me and Julie was 28, I was 20 when we did the show. There was just some age differences which cropped up. So yeah, no, I think Beauty and the Geek was a good experience. I wouldn't change it because of the friends that I made. It was a very good experience at the time.
Yeah, no, and then it's given you some. I mean, that's added to the not only the screen confidence, but the ability to talk with people and interact,
Of course, yeah.
and hold an interesting conversation. It's not something that comes with just you're born with it. That's something that comes with time, and clearly the teaching background has helped with that as well. The times that we have met in public, meeting you and seeing you across a busy room has always been charming, and it's always been nice to see that. And yeah, there's been a few screenings where we've bumped into each other, but yeah, I think San Diego was probably the weirdest one where we met.
San Diego was a weird.
It was a surreal week. I mean, I didn't sleep much that whole week.
No.
I spent 2 days in LA, then went down to San Diego with Paul from DC World, and then it was that Joker night. Sorry, the Penguin press night. There was an immersive experience that ended up with an evacuation, which
I didn't realize that was because I remember I'd like only just got in because the queue to get in was a pain in the ass. Like it was massive, and like I had only just got in, grabbed a drink. I think I was with Taya, and then the staff were like, through this way. Come on, guys, through this. I was like, Oz is here. I thought, what's going on? It was like through the fire. I was like, what the place is going on? Yeah. Then we ended up outside, and I thought it was going to be like Batman was on the roof or something.
It could have been. I mean, yeah.
It could have. And, like, I remember seeing a fire engine come down the way, and I said to Taya, I was like, Christ, the budget on this is high. Like, and then all of a sudden you see a massive billow of smoke, and then another fire engine, and it was like, oh God, hey, let's go. Like, geez,
this is real. Yeah, I think at the beginning of the week, I fatefully said to Paul, I hope I see an American fire engine. I'm a big fan of those. And then that night, it all kicks off.
What do you know?
Yeah, it was an immersive experience for the release of the Penguin show, set in sort of a fake nightclub with actors, and a really good immersive experience as it
was cool. It was really cool.
DJs and fake tattoos and all sorts of fun going on. But yeah, I saw somebody walk past and then run to the DJ booth, and I was like, hang on a minute, Spidey sense is literally tingling. Yeah. The old fire marshal in me that I learned up years ago when I used to working in a shop. I was like, well, where's the fire exits, first of all? So we know where that is. Then this guy came up and said, right, this is not part of the show. Everybody please evacuate. And yeah, we did. And bumped into you outside. Then bumped into Jim Lee. It was a hub.
You bumped into Jim Lee?
He was there at the event as well. So he was rushed out to say.
I didn't know that.
You missed out. So you better.
Mate, no.
It's all right. I met you first, so I'm happy.
Didn't you meet? I don't know if it was you or Paul who sent me but you like got something signed by Jim Lee.
Yeah, we were. So this was our first time going to San Diego Comic-Con, and that was an experience in itself. And we were there just reporting for DC in the UK and just having a great time and experience it as sort of a UK geeks going across to an international con. And it was amazing. As I said, no sleep for the whole week, but it was still spot on. But we were at pretty much the other side of the con, and this is like the biggest event I've ever been to when it comes to Comic-Cons.
Huge.
And someone said, well, Jim Lee's signing right now. And I was like, yeah, but we're not going to be able to squeeze in that queue. It's going to be really, really busy. But we thought, let's go and try.
Let's give it a go.
And we ran from one side of the hall to the other and managed to get pretty much the last two people in queue. I had my trusty Action Comics at hand for him to sign.
Amazing. That's awesome.
But Paul didn't have anything in that moment, but at that time, they just released the new DC Studios logo. Well, the old logo, the bullet.
Yeah.
So we got a few of those signed. But yeah, it was a week of surreal moments, and one of them, just seeing you outside this burning building,
inferno.
I was like, oh, hello, mate. What are you doing here? What are the chances of that? But it's one of those things where we get these wonderful moments that are quite pinch me moments, but surreal in the fact that where we can still embrace the things that we love and share them with other people. Yeah. And that's what I've loved with your page, whether it be comics or movies or musicals. Bottom line is, it's the things that you love. You are happy to share that. And some people in this day and age can be classed as a shill or a paid. They know that you're being paid to review something. I was like, I wish I was. That'd be fantastic. I'm here like you are to promote the things that I love. And the fact that comics is a big part of that with you is brilliant, because I love your reviews. recently you've been talking a fair bit about some fantastic comics and Superman, and of course, Mr. Nathan Fillion.
Nathan Fillion, yeah.
Now, with
as
the whole
Guy
Green,
Gardner.
it's going to be an exciting time, and that has caused nothing but excitement and some interesting opinions from people that may not know too much about Guy. But why
Yeah.
are you excited about this particular part of James Gunn's Superman, Henry?
I was like the Green Lantern fan on TikTok for a long time. Like a Green Lantern, for some reason, I don't know where the hell it started, but I have always been obsessed with the idea of the Green Lantern Corps. Like, I just love them. I think the whole, like, just the idea of the ring and hard light constructs and it being fueled by will or just emotions is so cool. And I think seeing I don't even know what the show's called, I should probably, but like Tales of the Green Lantern Corps or whatever they're calling it, I am so excited. I am so excited. I'm excited that it's an older Hal. I think that's cool because Hal Jordan, I think, is probably the least interesting of like the core. But I don't know if you include Simon Baz and Jessica Cruz now.
There's a whole sort of red string about who connects to who. But yeah, no, Lanterns. It's going to be an interesting show. But yeah, it's niche, but it's going to be good.
And then seeing Guy, like Nathan Fillion as Guy, I love the hair. Guy Gardner's like got a weird haircut. Like, of course he looks weird. It would be weird if he didn't look normal.
I mean, the promo behind the whole, like, it was never announced that they would release some new Superman material at the Super Bowl. Just they were going to release something. And there was a minuscule clip of a new Crypto animation. But then at the end of it, people were like, well, there's nothing about Superman. And then there was a brief little The Bowl, as in his haircut came on.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, what? But it was like, this is classic Guy. This is what Guy would want to do.
This is what he looks like.
This is his whole persona. So yeah, the passion that you brought out with that video, it was like, he gets it. He really gets it.
This is the thing. And like Guy Gardner is like, I know I'm not expecting them to like go deep onto like Guy's character because Guy's got like a messed up backstory. He's kind of like a messed up guy, literally. But you know, it's a Superman film. I don't need Guy to be the center of attention. But like little glimpses of that, of like his anger, and then have him in the Lantern show, that would be really cool.
I'm sure Nathan would be up for a little brief cameo in that show as well.
I'm sure he would. I mean, it would be weird if he wasn't, really. Like, I don't know who else they... Is it they've announced who's playing Hal, and did they announce who's playing John? Is it John or Kyle?
I think it's going for John. It was the guy that was in, I shall get it up on the screen as we talk. Let me for getting details up. But yeah, it was that video of you just talking about Guy. So if we can, what's some of your favourite Green Lantern comics?
To Be a Lantern, which is a Guy-centric, it's like a 6-issue, it's like a graphic novel, 6-issue graphic novel. Is what it says on the tin. It's like delves into what it takes to be a Lantern, and it focuses on Guy. That's a story that made me really love Guy. I really like the New 52 book, which is Kyle Rayner, Larfleeze, like it's one of each of the core. And then I think that's a book which at the end, Kyle becomes the White Lantern. The Sinestro Corps War's a classic, great book. Blackest Night, Brightest Day. But they're like, I don't know, they're not really green. They're Green Lantern stories, but like everyone else is in them as well.
Yes.
I'm trying to think. Any New 52 Green Lantern, I think is just brilliant. Jeff Johns like really nailed down like the Green Lantern ethos in those books. Yeah, all of that. I also really like, weirdly, all of like the 90s Kyle Rayner stuff. Like, I just think the art is so like out there.
Yeah.
It's just brilliant. I love picking up one of those single issues and just they're easy to read. And I think the art's just really funny. It's just so action packed and everyone's huge and any of that old school 90s aesthetic I really like.
Now, we've already had, of course, a Green Lantern film already that we don't tend to talk about too much online.
Yeah.
But a few years ago, I went to a fun premiere for Shazam, the first one, and I got to speak with Mark Strong. Now, there's a fantastic photograph of me just looking up adoringly at his eyes, because in that moment, he was talking about Sinestro, he was talking about comics, and the passion that he has for comics was electric. And I was like, I
Wow.
didn't know that about you, but let's
Yeah.
keep on talking.
I wouldn't expect that.
No, but as we were talking, he was slowly being ushered away. So we talked a bit about Kick-Ass, and we talked about the comics that he loved and grew up with. But when he started talking about Green Lantern and where that could have gone in the future,
Yeah.
if it was quite a bit of a different film, was very exciting. But yeah, Mark Strong, something about him.
He does. I kind of like his. He looks like Sinestro. I think he
Yes.
like visually. That's
He's
Sinestro.
there. He's there.
Yeah. So no, it is a shame. It is a shame that wasn't given the freedom to grow into something
as it
good.
was.
But hey, well, that film is crap. But
Yeah, that is.
yeah,
We can admit that, and we can still go back and watch it for the comedic value.
exactly.
And look at sometimes the very rare glimmer of hope where it could have got better, as it
Yeah.
were. But we could talk about that. Now, let's talk about the fact that I love your positivity online for,
Okay.
again, everything that you adore and love. How, sir, do you deal with some of the negativity that we tend to see online when it comes to comics and other people's opinions?
That's a good question. I remember distinctly that there was one time where I received a bit of negativity. When I first blew up, I got a lot of negativity about kind of my size. I was a really I still am really small guy. And there was a lot of comments about me being really skinny. And at the time I was really insecure about it. And I'd say that is probably the main time where I like struggled with the comments. And then I kind of like went through like thousands and thousands of comments, being like, and I was like adding up how many were negative and how many were like positive and encouraging. And it was like 2% were negative. And it was just like, someone just clicked in my mind. I was like, why the hell am I worrying about a 2%? Like, just gone. And I think I've been very fortunate in the fact that like most of my comments have been very positive. The only times I ever get that odd negative one, I'm in a fortunate place where I can let my followers deal with it. I can watch them tear this fella a new like let them crack on. And I think fortunately after kind of like working on my insecurities and all that kind of thing, I feel like now I'm in a much better place of kind of self-reflection, realizing what I've got out of the things that I love, what I've managed to achieve, and realize that it doesn't really affect me. I'm not losing any sleep about it. Put it away. Yeah.
And that's a good way to be. I mean, it's easy to sort of sometimes reply to a negative comment or something that's a bit salty, but it's going to worsen the situation, I feel sometimes.
Exactly.
It's going to
Especially
put
when
fuel to it.
Yeah, there's certain things that I like will fundamentally respond to, and like I'm not afraid of like voicing an opinion and like standing up for a cause and like actually doing nothing really winds me up more in this industry. Well, I'm gonna get on my soapbox now.
It's coming.
Yeah, nothing winds me up more in this social media industry than these entitled influencers who are very happy to like repost a story or put an emoji in their bio, but will not actually enact any change, will not actively do anything. There's a whole thing of like using your platform for good. Yeah, you got to use it. You've got to like physically like use it. Do a fundraiser. Do a whatever. Like reposting a story is fine, but do more. If you want to get on your high horse and feel like you're doing your part, actually do your part. And I think that there's a lot of influencers in our space, whatever, who are on their social high horse simply because they've got a following and they've reposted a story, and that really does my head in.
Can see, I've seen I have grinded your gears with that one, which wasn't the intention, but that's good. But you are a man of your word. You have that integrity because you have shown what you do online. You have helped with fundraisers. You've put on charity event nights where the emphasis was like, this is a charity night. Come along, have fun, but don't forget, we are doing this for this cause.
We are raising money for this. This isn't a content opportunity. This is a fundraising opportunity.
That's again
like I will say, it's a minority which wind me up, but like we call like the geekdom. We've done like football tournament fundraiser. We did like Comic-Con after party. Dino Joe Reviews, I think is doing another football tournament next year. No, not this year, even, sorry, in May. And then we've, of course, got our Oscars party, which will, well, I say it's a party, but we'll be putting money towards Joe's fundraiser as well. So I think I am mostly very, very proud of our geeky community in that way.
I think there's always, the odd bad egg, though, that you do get from time to time. But it's the faces and the voices and the groups that remain, that have sort of, been there from day one. Consistency, they say, is always key. And that is what has been, I say, with your persona, this world that you have created for yourself with your passion for films and comics, Legos and Star Wars. It's interesting times we live in, whereas when we were growing up, sometimes we weren't always waiting for that next big film. We had to wait a long time. Whereas now there is a huge amount of content for us that we can just be spoon-fed from time to time when it comes to anything that brings joy and escapism. What are you looking forward to the next 5 years of sort of cinema and TV and games, Henry?
Well, of course, Superman, James Gunn's DC.
Well done.
Yeah, well done. Yeah,
well done. Just put that.
James Gunn's DC is by far the most exciting thing to happen in the geeky world, I would say, since Avengers Endgame, I would personally say. Because, people who Marvel used to be like so far above DC, when you'd have the Marvel DC conversation, it would always be Marvel because Marvel had the MCU. Now the MCU is going down the Swanee. Like, it's time for DC to shine. I would always say, I was like, Marvel everything else but DC Comics. Now, I can pretty solidly say I'm going to be DC everything.
There's a shift. There is a certain shift that has been, I think, slowly building over the last few years. Yeah. It was going from the comics slowly into the world of animation, which they've always done fantastic work with.
Yeah, brilliant.
But it was the films that sometimes always didn't get that home run, as it were. But as you said, no, it seems the tides are changing, as it were, Henry.
That is very exciting. Like, I can't wait to see DC get there, like, a proper go at it. Like a real proper go at it. So I'm very excited for all of that stuff. What else am I excited for? I just had this conversation with someone. All the Christopher Nolan, The Odyssey stuff is very exciting.
Yes.
All those cast releases and that photo of Matt Damon as Odysseus is very cool.
Now, it's a book that I've not read. I've been scared to read. It's a story that I know is quite challenging, but for the last few years, I've been trying to get back into books. So my reading stamina has grown. So I think it is, I've got time to read that one before that film comes out next year, because it's going to be an epic one.
It looks, It's Chris Nolan, so that'll be very cool.
There you go.
I'm trying to think, gaming-wise, what have we got coming out? To be fair, I haven't played many games recently. I played a bit of Marvel Rivals when that first came out. That was fun. But I'm more of a single-player story fan, like those PlayStation, Last of Us, Uncharted, God of War, like all of those. And none have really been announced that I've been like, wow, I need to get my hands on this.
Yes.
I'm excited for the next edition of Warhammer.
Okay. Yes.
If that counts. Yeah, I'm a big Warhammer guy, and I didn't play 10th, or I haven't been playing 11, so I'm like waiting for the next edition. I'm painting up all of my minis, and then I will like dive right in. Because the thing is with Warhammer, if you don't play Warhammer at like the start of a new edition, you're not gonna
you're out of the loop. Point. You are out of the whole thing.
You'll spend a fortune on books, so there's no point.
That's it. So when's that Henry Cavill interview going to happen, Henry? That's going to happen.
Mate, actually, screw everything I've just said. The Warhammer series. Oh my days! Like I don't know if you watched Secret Level.
I didn't know.
So Prime did this like anthology video game series, and they did a Space Marine episode.
Okay.
And it was so cool. It was so cool. And it's like widely been considered the best out of that series. So everyone's so hyped for Cavill's Warhammer. If I get to speak to Cavill about Warhammer, I'll be so hyped. I will be so hyped. I got invited to the Argyle premiere, and which was like a film that came out like last year at some point. And I had some stuff to do up north, but I was like, is there any way you can kind of like guarantee me time with Henry Cavill on the carpet? They were like, we can put you on the carpet, but we can't guarantee time. So I had to turn it down because it was stuff up here. Yeah. I would just talk to him about Warhammer.
It would last a long time, the way that Henry is passionate for that series.
I know. If you think that I was passionate with Jeff Goldblum and Jonathan Bailey, the conversation with Henry Cavill will be on another level. I would lose my cool with that guy.
It could happen. I want to see that happen. But yeah, I mean, now he's got a little baby now, so he's going to find hopefully some spare time to get back into his hobbies, get back into the gaming, get back into the Warhammer, as well as
get back into making the series,
as well. And there were still rumors about Highlander as well. There was so much apparently that was going on with Henry. So I wish him always nothing but the best. He has always been my white whale when it comes to interviews, and I'm still hoping for that day.
Hey, I mean, we got Momoa. Well, we didn't interview him, but
he was there for a bit.
We met at Jason Momoa, didn't we? That was the first time we met.
That was the first time we met. And again, he's just a powerhouse of charisma and charm wherever he goes.
I might have him for the Minecraft movie, and I'm very excited for that.
Really? I mean, that's one
everything being well. Like,
I'm waiting for that intro. If that happens, let's just touch all the wood and make that happen for you, Henry. Because again, his charm both in front of the screen and behind the camera and at events is always so much fun.
Cool.
I can remember when the first Aquaman film came out. He came out and introduced the film after the press, and necked a can of Guinness, and then smashed a Quindant, not a Trident, a Quindant over his knee that wasn't his to smash. I was like, that's Aquaman. And now, of course, he's Lobo, which is I'm so excited for. He was talking at that event. Well, he wasn't talking. We were trying to get answers out of him. We were saying, let's talk about Lobo. Is it going to happen? Are you going to be Lobo in the future? And he started talking, and then sort of quite a few suit-like people came around behind him and said, we got to go now, I'm afraid. I was like, no, one more question, please.
Please.
Yeah, no, the character, the charm and electricity that Jason brings to a set, I'm looking forward to see what he does in the world of Minecraft. That is going to be interesting.
I don't even know what to think about that film. It looks really weird, but it's exciting. It looks weird. But
it looks weird, but it's got Momoa and Jack Black, so I'm there for that.
Yeah. I'll take that.
That's a winning team. What is next for you then, Henry? What have you got coming up that is exciting?
So I'm. I don't know if I can tell you where I am.
Okay,
I fly to Vancouver next. I fly to Vancouver tomorrow for a set visit. I don't know if I can say what, but I'm going to visit a set.
We'll find out.
Yeah, going to visit a set in Vancouver. I just did a set visit in Madrid, which you'll find out about soon.
Wonderful.
Which is very cool. And then I might have another thing in Santa Fe for another thing that I don't know if I can talk about. Things I can talk about.
Yeah.
I'm workshopping a play at the minute, which I've written, which is very cool.
Very cool.
So that's very early stages on that. What else am I doing? More interview stuff. And yeah, I moved to London next month, which is a big thing for me because I've been commuting from York for the past 3 years, and it is slowly done me in. So moving to Shoreditch area, which would be lovely with a friend. And yeah, I think this year for me will be building on the last year for me was very much kind of laying foundations outside of just social media. You know, doing the live shows, my writing, all that kind of thing. This year I want to build on those foundations. I've laid the groundwork. Let's see what happens next. Sorted. Yeah.
I love that.
And of course we've got the Geekdom Oscars.
Yes.
Which Mr. Luke Bug has been nominated for Best Podcast.
I have. That was an honour to find out about that, sir. So thank you so much.
To give you guys and Luke as well, because we haven't really spoken about this, a bit of context about what the Geekdom Oscars is.
Yes.
We did it last year. It's like a creators voted awards within the geeky community. So we had a long list of I think 40 people submitted for the long list. And then in the short list, I've been told we've had about 80 responses from purely just other creators, players, people, film reviewers, film critics. Essentially, everyone I've ever met at a film event has been invited and has been voted, and that's on March 1st in London, the day before the Oscars. So that'll be a great night. That'll be a great night.
And it's a great way for you to sort of, it's giving back to the community, but not just making it about one person or one area of that fandom. It's everything.
Of course.
There's a big umbrella there.
The best thing that I have got out of this entire social media thing is some of the people. I would have so many less friends if I didn't do this stuff. And I've been graced with lovely, lovely people to do all of this stuff with. any excuse. I will do anything I can to get everybody together and like bring more people in as well, because I know you haven't met like everyone, and I'm bringing like some of the Lego lot that I know down because they don't know anyone. Some of the reps from the film studios are coming as well. It's just a good opportunity to get together and celebrate like everyone and all we've done this year, because it's been a very good year for the geeky community. Like, I mean, 2024 was such a great year for us, and an opportunity to have a bit of a party and celebrate that.
Love that. That is a fantastic way. Henry, this has been an absolute honour. I knew
Mate,
this was going to be a good chat. I mean, when we're at these events and we run past each other, it's often a rush. We've got to be somewhere.
Hey, it's a classic. Hey, how you doing, mate? Yeah, catch you later.
Next time, afterwards, drink. Yeah, that's it. But so having this time together was absolutely fantastic. And I can't wait to see what you get up to next. Again, it's sometimes difficult when we do have things to do, but we can't really talk about it because for reasons that would get us into a lot of trouble if we did.
Yeah.
But you do a great way of doing that online, whether it be Instagram or TikTok, where it's not about showing off. It's about including your audience, saying, this is where I'm going. I'm really excited. When I can tell you, you're going to be just as happy as I am right now. And that is a great way of being. There are, as you said, there can be some personalities online that are a bit more, look at me, I'm here doing this thing, check it out.
Look at what I've done. No. I'm not being funny. You'll get this, man. Like we wouldn't be able to do anything without the audience.
Exactly.
And it's so important to like bring the people that have got you there with you and make sure the content includes that, because the whole thing is that they want to feel like they're there with you. It's not something that you've achieved. It's something that they've all helped get you to. And that should never be forgotten. Never, ever be forgotten.
Perfect words. Perfect words. Now, what advice have you got for somebody like yourself that wants to get into this crazy, crazy world?
And it's so like, be yourself. But genuinely, people buy people at the end of the day. People love a personality. All of like the social media consultancy work that I do is like, it's all right showing a product, but the product will only get you so far. It needs a personality, like a salesman almost. If you can infuse your personality into the content, it might be hard for you to be on camera. You might struggle with that at first, but even if it's like a voiceover or whatever, making sure that your personality comes through. Don't try and copy, just be authentic to yourself and let your personality shine through, because that's what will make your audience return. And that's what will make people fall in love with you and your content. So just get your personality, shine through, and consistency, which sounds a bit hypocritical coming from me because I upload maybe once every 2 weeks. But like back in the day, I was like every other day I would upload. If you don't love it, like don't bother, because it will be long and arduous and just not fun if you don't love it.
Perfect advice, Henry. Perfect advice. Now, where can people find you online? All the links to your socials will be in this podcast, but where can people find you, sir?
People can find me at henry.calvert on Instagram, henry_Calvert on TikTok. And if you want to check out, I've also got a little pod called The Scene Stealers, at Scene Stealers Pod on Instagram, I think.
Yes, correct.
Or
but again, the links will be here. The links will be here. Just search for that. But it's more ways to enjoy the stuff that you do. It's platforms for you to share your personality and your passion for all the things that bring you joy in this life.
Yeah,
and that is what we need. So please continue to do that. I can't wait to speak with you more, Henry.
I know.
And yeah, this has been a long time coming.
We'll see you next week.
That's hopefully. It's coming around quick. It's coming around quick.
I know. I can't wait. It'll be great, man. And thank you so much for having me on. It's been awesome.
My pleasure. Take care, Henry.
You too, brother. You too.